When Tim Cook took over Apple in 2011, most people thought it was over. Steve Jobs had just resigned. The visionary was gone. In his place, an operations guy, a supply chain expert. Not exactly the profile you'd pick to run the most creative company on Earth. But Cook got to work. 15 years later, he's leaving Apple worth $4 trillion. Revenue up from $108 billion when he started to over $400 billion today. AirPods, Apple Watch, Apple Silicon, a $96 billion services business, all built on his watch. By any measure, the man delivered. Here's the thing though, the same Tim Cook who built all of that also spent 10 years and $10 billion on a car that never shipped. Watched OpenAI rewrite the rules of computing while Siri became a punchline. Sold the same iPhone with slightly better cameras for 15 years straight. And those aren't two separate stories about two different CEOs. That's one story about what it actually means to be great at running a company and what greatness in one era costs you in the next. It's a pattern that goes back further than Apple. And understanding it tells you exactly what's coming next. Start with what Cook actually got right, because the wins are real and they're bigger than most people give him credit for. When Jobs handed Cook the keys in 2011, Apple made computers, phones, and music players. That was the whole company. 4 years later, Cook launched the Apple Watch. Nobody knew what it was for. A fashion accessory? A fitness tracker? A phone on your wrist? The reviews were skeptical. Sales were slow out of the gate. Then something unexpected happened. Cook's team kept iterating. Added ECG monitoring, fall detection, blood oxygen tracking. The Apple Watch quietly became a medical device that millions of people wore every day. Today, it's the best-selling watch on Earth. A year after Watch, Cook did it again. In 2016, he launched AirPods and pulled the headphone jack off the iPhone the same day. People were furious. Tech journalists called it arrogant. Customers said Apple was forcing them to buy accessories. They bought them anyway. AirPods became the best-selling wireless earbuds in history. They didn't just create a product, they created a category. Every pair of wireless earbuds you see today exists because Cook made that call in 2016. Then there's iPhone 10. 10 years after the original iPhone, Cook's team tore the design apart. Removed the home button, edge-to-edge screen. The iPhone went from a rectangle with a circle on it to the design language every smartphone on Earth still copies today. But the biggest win most people overlook is Apple Silicon. In 2020, Cook made the call to ditch Intel and build their own chips. It was a massive bet, the kind of decision that takes years to pay off and can break a company if it goes wrong. The M1 chip outperformed processors that cost 3 times as much. MacBooks went from good enough laptops to the best personal computers on the market. Mac revenue hit an all-time record in 2026. Apple Silicon is the foundation everything else at Apple now runs on. And then there's services. The App Store, iCloud, Apple Music, Apple Pay, Apple TV Plus. When Cook took over, services generated less than $3 billion a year. By 2025, that number was $109 billion. He turned software and subscriptions into Apple's second biggest business. Apple Watch, AirPods, iPhone X, Apple Silicon, a $109 billion services empire. Every single one of those wins followed the same logic. Take something people already use every day and make it indispensable. That was Tim Cook's superpower. And for the first half of his tenure, it was enough. The greatest operator in tech history had one blind spot. He could perfect a product, scale it, make it indispensable. But innovation, building something the world had never seen, was never his strength. Starting in 2014, that gap started showing up in the numbers. That year, Cook greenlit Project Titan, Apple's secret car project. 2,000 engineers, a decade of work. No product announcement, just a code name. The problem was, nobody could agree on what to build. A Tesla rival, then a self-driving vehicle, then a Tesla rival again. The vision kept changing because there was no vision. In February 2024, Apple quietly shut it down. $10 billion spent, 0 cars built. Employees had a nickname for it internally, the Titanic disaster. The same year the car died, Apple launched the Vision Pro, a $3,499 spatial computing headset. Cook called it the dawn of a new era. Consumers disagreed. Apple sold fewer than 600,000 units total. The return rate was the highest of any Apple product ever. Production stopped within a year. Then there's AI. In November 2022, OpenAI launched ChatGPT. The world changed overnight. Apple had been building Siri since 2011. 11 years of head start. Didn't matter. Apple was caught completely flat-footed. No large language model ready. No answer to ChatGPT. The company that invented the modern smartphone missed the next shift entirely. In 2024, Apple announced Apple Intelligence, promised a smarter Siri, ran TV commercials showing features that didn't exist yet, then delayed them again. Internally, executives described the situation as, and this is a direct quote, ugly and embarrassing. Apple quietly pulled the ads off the air. By 2026, Apple had to partner with Google to power its AI features, the most valuable company on Earth, using a competitor's technology to catch up. And through all of it, the car, the headset, the AI delays, the iPhone kept selling. Not because people were excited, because they were locked in. There's a difference, and Cook knew it. Look at every win: Apple Watch, AirPods, Apple Silicon, services. One thing connects all of them. None required a new idea. Every single one made the iPhone harder to leave. That was the strategy. Cook didn't build new platforms. He built walls around the one Apple already had, and it worked. Now look at every loss. The car, the Vision Pro, the AI. One thing connects all of them too. Every single one required Apple to invent a market that didn't exist. No blueprint, no playbook. Cook joined Apple in 1998 as a supply chain expert. His job was fixing how Apple built things, not what it built. He was never hired to imagine. He was hired to execute. For 13 years, that was exactly enough. Then the market moved. AI didn't need better hardware. It needed a completely different kind of thinking. Cook did what he always did. He organized. He optimized. He spent $10 billion on a car with no clear vision. The losses weren't bad luck. They were the same instinct, applied to problems it was never designed to solve. Execution can scale a platform. It cannot dream one up. Those are two completely different skills. That's the pattern. Not two Tim Cooks. One, doing exactly what he was built for until the world needed something else. Apple's core problem isn't market share or revenue. It's the same problem it's had for 15 years. It can't invent the next big thing. The iPhone still generates half of all revenue. After 15 years, Cook never built a second engine anywhere close to that size. That's the legacy. Not the market cap, not the services business. The unresolved question Cook leaves behind, what comes after the iPhone, is the one that defines the next decade. On September 1st, a man named John Ternus takes over. 50 years old, mechanical engineer, 25 years at Apple. His fingerprints are on every product Cook won with. AirPods, Ternus. Apple Silicon, Turnus. iPhone hardware for the last 6 years, Turnus. Every win in Cook's column runs through the same person. He also described Apple's AI strategy as, quote, a marathon, not a sprint, which is either exactly the right answer or the same mistake. Critics say Turnus isn't truly innovative, that he joins projects once they're already in motion, that he's never launched a genuinely new product category on his own. What Apple needs is someone who can execute at Cook's level and imagine at Jobs' level. Nobody knows if Turnus is that. What we do know, he built the hardware foundation the AI era runs on. Apple Silicon and M-series chips were his. The tools exist. The question is what he builds with them. That's the only thing that matters now.